$125,000, one commission check. It was a game changer. One of my best years, I did almost $20 million in sales personally. The hard work ethic that was built into me, we grew up in a farming community. I'm like 11, 12 years old. My mom and dad said, "Okay, Robbie, it's the end of the summer. We're not going to pay for your school clothes. So if you want to wear new school clothes to school next year, you need to find a job." I'm like, what am I going to do?
From long days working in a farming community at just 12, Robbie Summers learned grit early. That drive led him into sales, where after years of hard knocks and persistence, he went on to sell over $100 million and coach entrepreneurs worldwide.
Did you start out with any kind of young entrepreneurial hustle?
My very first job, shoveled horse manure. I cleaned out horse stalls at $1 a stall. Really opened my eyes to the ability to be in sales.
The future of high-ticket sales, as you see industries change, AI come into play, how do you see it evolving?
Here's the thing, and that's an interesting question, because I think that probably in the next 10 years, 70 to 80% of all jobs are going to be replaced by robotics or AI.
What's the psychological difference selling to somebody at a $10,000, $50,000, $100,000?
I don't think anybody ever buys anything unless they feel it, and you have to create that emotion inside of them. It doesn't matter if it's $10 or $100,000. If I can walk them through that process of where they're at and where they want to be and help them to build the bridge, that it's amazing how things stay the same.
What did you learn about sales that made you good at it?
When I started, I thought that sales was all about how much I had to talk, but it's about the value proposition. You want to talk about something hard to sell? Try selling God.
Hey guys, welcome to this episode of the Passionate Few podcast. Today we have an incredibly special episode as we're sitting down with none other than the sales expert extraordinaire, none other than Robbie Summers. And today we're going to talk about his incredible story, how he sold over $100 million over the phone, how he's hired over 1,000 salespeople, and most importantly, some of the keys to success that at whatever level of business you're at, you guys might be able to apply to your life. So with no further ado, thanks so much for being on the show today, Robbie.
Omar, I'm so glad to be here, buddy. It's exciting, and it's a great location and a great setup here. So I'm excited to be here and see what we can do to help some people out to increase their sales and grow their businesses.
Absolutely, man. Stoked we got to do this. I've seen and admired what you've done from afar for years. You've worked for some of the biggest companies on the planet, helped some of the biggest entrepreneurs out there with sales. But before you became this guy that sold over $100 million worth of products and services and, impacted so many entrepreneurs. Take us back. Where did you grow up? What was your childhood like? And how the heck did you get into sales at such a high level?
Man, Omar, I've got to give all the credit to my parents. I grew up in a small town in Idaho, Emmett, Idaho. So go Huskies, let's put that plug in. But grew up with my mom and dad and very, very conservative Christian values that we grew up with. And one of the things that just as growing up, my parents just taught me a belief and a love in people just in general, and knowing that the greatest thing on the planet are people. Regardless of whether you have road rage or you're driving or you're mad at somebody, but you look at it and you say, hey, people are God's greatest creation. And just grew up in that small town of I think there's 3,000 people in the town, and it's just right on the Payette River in Idaho, and it's just a beautiful place for a kid to grow up and play out in the mountains and the woods, and then just kind of have an experience that probably I wouldn't have gotten in a lot of other places, because it was a smaller school, so there were more opportunities for me to do things like play football and do track and field and things like that. And so it was a lot of fun to do. And it just gave me a great opportunity to just be around people and learn who they are and have this experience to be with people and grow and just make sure that find ways that you can help people out. And that's, we'll get into the sales, but I believe the biggest part of sales is service and finding the right thing for the right customers and the right people. And all you're doing in sales, sometimes they'll get this this greasy mindset that people have, or like, the used car salesman. And people got to have a paradigm shift that nothing happens in business, in life, unless a sale happens. And that if you're looking for the best opportunity for both parties involved, some amazing things can happen.
Did you start out with any kind of young entrepreneurial hustles, or how did sales happen? Did you do door to door at all? Like, was there any forays into that?
I did it all, and it was like I remember, and not necessarily entrepreneurial, but it was the hard work ethic that was built into me. We grew up in a farming community. And I remember I was going into the seventh grade, and my mom and dad said, "Okay, Robbie, it's the end of the summer from your sixth grade. we're not going to pay for your school clothes. So if you want to wear new school clothes to school next year, you need to find a job. I'm like 11, 12 years old, right? And I'm like, what am I going to do? Okay. And there was enough farming opportunities. And I actually, first job, I shoveled horse manure. I cleaned out horse stalls at $1 a stall. And I thought I'd get really good if I did about 4 in an hour. And that was my very first job, but it was just a matter of, hey, I'm going to go out and I'm going to find a way to work. I'm going to find a way to hustle. And then did, odd job labor farming jobs on some of my friends and family members' farms that they had around, and really instilled this work ethic in me to be able to understand and realize that that nothing happens without action being taken. You've got to do something. As far as the sales, it was kind of around the same time my dad. We had Boy Scout camp, and I love the Boy Scouts. I'm an Eagle Scout and think it's fantastic. And my dad said, "Hey, Robbie, you got Boy Scout camp and you got to pay for it." And I was like, man, how am I going to do that? And he actually was a manager of an electrical distribution place. And he said, Why don't you go around to the businesses in our town and sell them light bulbs? Mm-hmm. And so here I am, I'm like this, this short little chubby kid walking into these businesses and these restaurants saying, do you want to buy some light bulbs from me? And I think a lot of it was they just felt bad for me, or they wanted to donate to the Boy Scouts, but it also gave me the ability to, not be afraid to be able to talk to people and to realize that, hey, some people are going to tell you no, but some people are going to tell you yes. And if you'll get out there and you'll hustle and you'll work after it, that good things will happen. But I think probably really, the place with that hard work and everything where it really got honed in is, when I was 19, I went on an LDS mission. Mm-hmm. For my church. And I don't know, I'm sure you guys are all, sick of those Mormon missionaries knocking on your door or whatever, but you want to talk about something hard to sell? Mm-hmm. Try selling God, and
door to door. Yeah.
Door to door. And that minimizes that a little bit, but in all reality, it's really what it is. Mm-hmm. And understanding and realizing that, man, I've got to get out there. I've got to hustle. I've got to work hard because I got a great message to share with people. And if you do that and you get out there, that so many amazing skills can be learned, like hard work, communication, accepting rejection, and not looking at rejection as a negative, but gosh, what did I learn from that? How could I have done better? What can I do in the future? Mm-hmm. And I got home from my mission, and it was, I want to make money, and I don't want to make little money. And so I went and sold pest control in San Jose, California. Mm. And it was, gosh, 1999, summer of 2000, something like that. And boy, oh boy, I'm 21 years old, and in 3 months I made like $45,000. And wow. I thought I was king of the world, just because it was more money than I knew what to do with, and had a blast and a party doing that. But it was, really opened my eyes to the ability to be in sales, and that if I work hard enough and I care enough about the people, and I know what to say, that really, really good things can happen.
It's funny. I used to actually knock doors as well with a lot of my buddies from Utah and a lot of guys who were LDS, and we pest control, solar, alarms, the whole thing. So it taught me not only camaraderie, like with your boys in battle, but it also taught me to earn your keep, because it was 100% commission. You're not making any money. You're not getting, our thing was like 100 doors a day. And then I learned how to frame it as, instead of 100 doors a day, because not everybody answers, 100 no's a day. Because if you do 100 no's a day, you'll end up with 2-3 sales out of the 100. Yep. So it builds resilience. It builds an ability to confront things. And then it also makes things easier later. Like fast forward, I would go to, metaphorically knock on billionaires' doors to try to get interviews or big names on the podcast. But to me, it wasn't a big scary thing, because I had knocked on thousands of doors, big homes, small homes, people who hate you, people who love you. And so it builds that muscle. And most people never get that educational experience on the sales side.
Well, it's really realizing and understanding that, hey, it's that rejection that comes. Mm-hmm. And that I think a lot of times we live in a world where things are so soft right now, and people are so careful with things and how they say things and what they do. And the fact of the matter is that most people are going to tell you no. Mm-hmm. It's just a matter of life. It's just the way that it happens. And you've got to say, okay, so if somebody told me no, what do I need to recraft? What do I need to do differently? What better questions could I ask? And as I reframe that and I ask those questions and I work with those people and I take the time to read and study, anything out there that I can get my hands on, that over time and with experience that you can do some amazing things.
Absolutely. What did you learn about sales that made you good at it, right? Were you a natural? Do you remember your first couple weeks or months knocking doors? Because there might be people listening to this, either established entrepreneurs or maybe sales professionals getting into the industry. So what advice would you have for people on A, if you sucked when you started, and B, how to pass that threshold? Because I think most people suck in the beginning. Very few people are natural at it. And then of the people that are good at it, very few stick with it, right? Some fall off or some commit and then go to the next level. So what was it like for you? Were you a natural? And if not, how did you sort of start to ascend? What were some key distinctions you learned?
So I think that I definitely had some natural tendencies and abilities that came in. And like if you sit down and you look at, say you take a disc test, okay, that just overwhelmingly the most successful sales people are DIs. Okay, they're driven and they love people. They got that interpersonal connection, and and that doesn't mean somebody that has a different disc test can't be successful. But just overwhelmingly, it's you got to have the drive, you got to have the hard work, and you got to have a desire to be around with people. Okay, and so I score very high on the disc scale. I think I'm like a 98D and a 99I, and then like a 1C. And so it's but I definitely think there's some natural ability in there. But when I started, I thought that sales was all about how much I had to talk and how much I had to tell everybody about how great my product was or my widget was or my pest control or whatever it is. And at the end of the day, that makes the sale all about me.
Right.
And every time that I take an entrepreneur and I review their team sales calls, almost without question, it's usually that the salesman's talking 60 to 70% of the time, and the prospect is talking 30 to 40% of the time. And it really needs to be reversed to the point where it's almost, if I can talk in the sales process 20% of the time, and find out about the customer, find out about their needs, what they want to do, what they want to accomplish, and provide them with a solution and lead them to that solution just by asking questions. It's amazing how easy sales become and how much more you can help people out without having to hammer them or push them into it or do anything like that. And so the hardest thing, in fact, I remember for my first 2 years in high ticket sales, it was on a sales floor with like 100 guys, and my team leader was this old grumpy guy. He's like 70 years old and funny guy. But one time probably after 2 months of me being there, he put a sign in my cubicle because a big call center that said, "Shut up and ask questions and shut up." And that was really hard for me because it was like, I want to talk, I want to tell him, I want to help him. And that's when it becomes all about me, not the customer. And it's hard for a lot of entrepreneurs and a lot of salespeople to make that distinction because it's so funny, Omar. I tell entrepreneurs about this all the time. Nobody cares about your product. They don't care what it is. In fact, I was doing some sales training in Brazil a couple of years ago, and there was a translator there, and I don't know if the translation came through quite clearly, but I told these awesome Brazilians that nobody cares about your product, and they're all their jaws just like hit the floor. And I was like, it's not about your product, it's about what it can do for them. And so if you can help them to see and understand how your goods, your products, your services, your widgets are going to help them, it's unbelievable what you can do to actually help those people and walk them through that sale and actually serve and help them in the long run, rather than, man, I just got to get a sale.
And you ended up working with, I know, Russell Brunson, ClickFunnels, some of the biggest names in the space. Can you talk about that experience, the level of sales, people you were selling to, the volume, just so people can kind of wrap their head around the level of expertise you've gotten experience with high ticket sales? Yeah,
Omar, I've been super, super blessed with some of the people I've been able to work around. Russell Brunson is amazing. One of my best friends on the whole planet. Worked with Tracy. We're working with Dr. Joe Vitale right now on helping people to write their books and some things like that. I could go on and on about some of the people that I've been able to work with, but the thing that I've noticed and I've realized is that working with those higher level people and being able to help them out, especially when you're dealing with a high ticket sale. When I was with Russell Brunson for the last 5 years, I basically brought in everybody into his inner circle, and that's a $50,000 to $250,000 sale, depending on what level they come in at. And what's interesting about those people is that it has to be all about them, and they have to be able to see and understand the value. And the only way you do that is by asking them, how's that going to help you? Gosh, if you could work with Russell Brunson and the other people inside of the inner circle, how's that going to make a difference? And then you start bringing in people, from the ClickFunnels world. If you guys know, like Alex Hermosi, it was in inner circle for a long time. We've worked with Dave Asprey. We've worked with a lot of different people in that market, in that area. JJ Virgin, we've worked a lot with her in health and fitness. And so when you work with people at that level and somebody's looking at and saying, gosh, they're spending as much money as they would on a car or a small home or something like that, there has got to be a lot of value that they see and understand how that's going to happen. And that's never going to come from me by me telling them about all the features and benefits of the product. It's making them feel with their own words how we're going to get them to see the results that they want. Because I could lift off all the features and benefits about working with Russell Brunson, how cool he is and how much fun it is to work with him. But all the things that I list off might not have anything to do with somebody like Annie Grace. Okay. And so if I ask Annie Grace and I say, Annie, gosh, if you could work with Russell Brunson, and she tells me all the reasons why she thinks Russell Brunson's going to work for her, all of a sudden it becomes really, really easy to hit on the right pain points, the right pleasure points, and help walk them through the process of the sale.
So when someone is debating, for example, investing in something, what's the psychological, framework that most people, when they evaluate something, are really reflecting on or evaluating? Like, for example, what is it that makes people, like, let's assume price is not the issue. Let's assume it's a value thing. For people listening and entrepreneurs listening, what are some key distinctions in your experience you've seen that maybe most people struggle at realizing is really what pushes people to buy or invest in things when they're on the fence?
So it's interesting. Yes, I was just watching it was a reel by Robert Herkovec from Shark Tank. Okay. And he actually said good salespeople talk about features. Great people talk about the results, but the very, very best salespeople make sure that the people they're talking about, that they feel something. Okay. And so if you can do something with your goods, your products, your services, and you can actually make them feel something, because something like talking to somebody about the stock market. Okay. Gosh, you start thinking about like Wolf of Wall Street and how that works and hammering them down and doing all those things. Well, people aren't just investing into the stock market just because they want money. It's what do those things provide for them?
Right.
So many salespeople, especially when they're brand new, so many entrepreneurs when they're brand new, that they get on the phone and they think they're asking a good question. Well, what do you want to do? Well, I want to make more money. And then they move on to the next question. And it's so funny to me because it's like, who doesn't want to make more money?
Right.
Okay. Like we've got to dig deeper. What's that money going to do for you? Why aren't you spending the time with your family right now? Why are you working 80 hours a week? Why aren't you making enough money? Okay. If you had more money, what would that do? And help them to see and visualize, gosh, what could life look like in 12 months if you were working with Russell Brunson? What could life look like?
Painting the vision of what it would look like on the other side.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I heard one time a sales professional, I think they were selling me on something, but it worked. He goes, he got kind of metaphorical with me. He goes, no problem if we're not going to move forward, but I want you to envision two scenarios, like play the tape forward. In one tape, say you plug it in one tape, we don't work together and you continue trying what you've tried. And then in the other tape, you work with us and things do go well. What would be the best case scenario of that? What would be the best case scenario of either of those tapes? And him just getting me to actually feel that vision got me to go, oh man, investing in this is worth the risk of the up or downside versus keeping the money and the risk of things staying the same. And so a lot of times it's getting people to realize it on their own instead of telling them per se. So that was one example where something like
Omar,
shifted for me.
Did you hear the word you said?
Yeah.
He got me to feel something.
Yeah.
And if I can get in my calls, my people, if I can get them to have a feeling as to what they can do. And now all of a sudden, because if I can get them to tell me why working with Robbie Summers, why working with Omar, why that would make a difference, okay, rather than me telling them, okay, because if I say, of course I'm biased, okay, of course I'm biased to my goods, my products, my services. Everybody on the planet knows that. But if I can get them to say, well, gosh, working with Russell Brunson, it would make all the difference in the world. We brought a new client on with they teach and train people on insurance and selling on insurance. And I'm really good friends with one of the people that are there. And I've worked with him a lot in Inner Circle. And so they brought me on to handle their sales. And there's an older guy. He's really cool. His name's Doug Andrews. Has been very, very successful in the insurance game. And he's like written 13 books on it. And he comes in and he's like, hey, what kind of information do you guys need to know about the product and this and blah, blah, blah. And Bud Heaton is my friend that I know from Inner Circle. And he said, Doug, it's really interesting. Like Robbie gets on the phone with them. And in 20 or 30 minutes, they're telling Robbie all the reasons why they need our help. and it's so simple to do that if you just ask them questions, and you got to have a pattern, you got to have a system to ask the right questions. But if you do it the right way, at the end of the day, it's so simple, because if I say it, it could be a lie. But Omar, if I can get you to say it in the sales process, that this is why you working with Brian Tracy is going to make such a difference to you and writing your next book or whatever it is. And you tell me all these reasons, all of a sudden you've created the value without me having to say anything. And all of a sudden I know exactly the reasons why you need our help. And so I know all the reasons why you would buy. I know all the reasons you wouldn't buy. And it makes it really, really simple to create a gap and say, gosh, if you could work with Robbie, how would that bridge the gap? And so it's just a matter of, and that's really the biggest key. I mean, that like we could talk about scripting and how that, all that and how it works. But at the end of the day, Omar, I mean, a sales call, a sales process, if I can find out where somebody's at, I can find out where they want to be, and then I can have them tell me how we're going to bridge the gap. It's not hard for somebody to walk across that finish line at that point.
Right.
And so that's the whole process. And I love that you were like,
create the gap and then sell the bridge kind of thing.
Exactly. But I don't build the bridge. I'm like, this is where you're at. This is where you want to be. Now, gosh, why don't you have a 7-figure award? Why don't you have a 2 Comma Club award? Well, I need this and I need this and I need this. And boy, if you had somebody who is handling your marketing and taking care of you and helping you out, how would that make a difference? So I ask them, because I know what all their problems are. And then I ask them, if you had somebody who had that experience, how would that make a difference? And they tell me all the reasons. They start building the bridge rather than me having to sell it to them. And then I don't have to tell them about all the features and benefits. I just have to let them tell me what it's going to do and how it's going to help them.
Hey guys, we'll get right back to this video in a sec. But first, I have a quick question for you. Given that the e-commerce industry is growing by the trillions year over year, have you ever dreamed of owning your own e-commerce business like many of the guests we've had on the show, but maybe you feel stuck on how to start? Well, if so, you're not alone. The truth is, starting and setting up your own online store can be incredibly time-consuming, complicated, and get expensive. Not to mention the hassle of researching top products and staying on top of market trends that make you money. Lucky for you, that's where today's sponsor, StoreBuild.ai, comes in. With StoreBuild.ai, you instantly get a free custom-built, AI-driven store loaded with 20 winning products and a custom theme that can help you generate sales. All you need to do is head to StoreBuild.ai, enter your info, then simply sign up to Shopify for free, choose your store's look and feel, and voila! They'll send you your custom-built store ready to generate sales. The whole process is lightning fast. Whether you're just starting out or want to grow, StoreBuild.ai makes launching an online store easier than ever. So why wait? Visit StoreBuild.ai, and in less than 5 minutes, you could have the e-commerce business you've always dreamed of. Thanks to StoreBuild.ai for sponsoring this video, and now let's get back to the show. Now, what about the difference between selling, because there's different levels of sales, right? You could sell something for $1,000, $5,000, $10,000, $50,000, $100,000, $250,000 plus, like you mentioned. What's the psychological difference, or is there any, in terms of selling to somebody at a $10,000, $50,000, $100,000, $250,000 level, as you ascend, what are the psychological differences, if there are any, as you see it?
That's a super interesting question, Omar, because I don't think anybody ever buys anything unless they feel it. There has to be a feeling that has to happen, and you have to create that emotion inside of them. And as far as the psychology, it doesn't matter if it's $10 or $100,000 for somebody buying something. Obviously, you're going to a $10 item is going to have a lot less emotion involved with it than a $100,000 item.
Right.
But there's still a reason that, like, you think about the mom in the grocery store whose kids yelling and screaming because they want a toy, and mom says, here's the toy, because her feeling is the kid will be quiet now. Right. Okay. So that's her
She's
feeling.
meeting that need. Yeah.
Absolutely. There's a feeling that she needs to take care of, and stop the kid from yelling and screaming in the middle of Target. Okay. But it's really the same thing and the same idea that regardless of the price point, the psychology behind sales, it remains the same. And that if I can walk them through that process of where they're at and where they want to be, that, and help them to build the bridge, that it's amazing how things stay the same. One of my, I don't know if you know Christine Morel. She's in Russell's inner circle, and she's crazy. She's got like pink hair on one side and brown hair on the other. And she's like the nicest, sweetest person in the world. And she walked up to me one day and she was like, Robbie, how do I raise my prices from $5,000 to $10,000? She has this awesome program that helps out musicians do amazing things, like gets them booked, get 6-figure jobs all over the world. And so the value was there. Right. Mm-hmm. And I looked at her and I said, Christine, do you know the difference between selling 5,000 and 10,000? And she's like waiting for this, like this mic drop, yeah, no, what is it, Robbie? And I'm like, on the sales call, instead of saying 5,000, you say 10,000. And she's like, that's it? I'm like, yeah, just on the say, you just say a different price point. And if the value is there, because from her customer's perspective, gosh, they go out and they learn how to get a $100,000 job on a cruise ship, and they got to spend $10,000. And I'm like, Omar, if I stack $100,000 right here in front of you, $100 bills, and for 1 year, you're going to make $100,000, and every year for the rest of your life. And I say, hey, can I have $10,000 of that back? So you keep 90 and I keep 10. Like, that's a good value all day long. Right. And so it's just helping them to see that and understand that, and not being afraid of their worth. It's one of the first things whenever I go in and audit a business and their sales and what they're doing, is one of the first things almost every single entrepreneur does, Omar, is they're undervaluing their services. And so I look at it and I say, raise your prices.
Why do they do that?
There's a lot of reasons I think that they do it, but sometimes people say, well, the market won't bear it. Okay. And sometimes, very, very seldom, that's the case. Most of the time though, it's impostor syndrome, that they're like, holy cow, why, how can I charge that much? What can I do? And it's crazy, because they're looking at it and they're thinking, let's take a chiropractor. Okay. If I've got a chiropractor and they're looking at it and they're saying, I go in and I just crack somebody's back. Okay. Well, you know what? That's worth $50. You're right.
Right.
Okay. But if the chiropractor will take the time to find out why they're coming to the chiropractor, and they're finding out why they're in pain, and they're finding out all these things, and they're taking a minute to find out where their patient's at,
and how long they've been in pain, what their plan is for the next year to avoid that, et cetera. Yeah.
And then hey, what's your goal? And let's say you got this guy with grandkids, and he's like, I want to play catch with my grandkids, but I can't. So if I can help you to play catch with your grandkids, you'd want to do that. Now put a price on a grandpa playing catch with his grandkids. Put a price on a guy who can't go out with his buddies now and go golfing because his back's too jacked up. And so if all you're doing is, if you're selling your features and your benefits, you're always going to be selling low ticket, low prices, and you're never going to actually see the value. Yesterday I was at Bedros's event in Anaheim.
We've actually had Bedros Koulian on the show too. Yeah,
he's a stud, great guy. Yeah. And there was, I was talking to a lady about raising her prices, and she's in health and wellness, and it's natural healing. She's down in San Diego, and she was, I don't know how we can raise our prices. And I said, well, what do you do? And she's like, we get rid of diabetes, and we've cured people from cancer, and we've done lowered people's cholesterol. And I was like, okay, that's good. So let's take the diabetes. What happens if you help somebody get their diabetes or blood sugar down to a good level? And she goes, well, it gives them extra life and quality of life. And I said, okay, well, so would it be unreasonable to think that you're going to give somebody an extra 5 years quality life? Mm-hmm. And she's like, not at all. Like, we've done it all the time. And I said, Kate, put a price tag on 1 extra year of life. And what's priceless? No, you can't tell me it's priceless. Okay. Omar, if you could have 1 extra year quality life, like put a price tag on that for you.
Oh, priceless. Yeah.
But you can't say priceless. You got to give me a dollar figure.
Hundreds of thousands, $1 million plus. I mean, whatever.
Say $1 million.
$1 million.
$1 million. Okay. And I'm going to give you 5 of them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So that's $5 million worth of value. Okay. All of a sudden, her $20,000 program, which she's selling for $5,000 right now,
mm-hmm.
it's not very hard to sell for $20,000 when it's like, hey, I just gave you $5 million and 5 years of your life back. Mm-hmm. And so it's helping people to see what it's going to do for them, and taking enough time to actually care about the people, to understand their story. Mm-hmm. Like I said, where they're at, where they want to be, and then having them bridge that gap.
Yeah.
Makes it so simple. And the difference there too, Omar, is that it's not greasy. It's not gross. It's like, I'm actually helping, I'm actually serving people, and I'm doing something that's great because I'm changing people's lives and helping them out and helping them to make that decision along the way that most people would be too afraid to make on their own.
Yeah. And being willing to take the time for context. Yeah. And their context. Yeah. I think that's so important because so few people do that. What about in terms of switching gears a little bit here? You know, it's one thing to be a sales professional. It's another thing when you're running a business to hire sales professionals. I know with the Sales Lever, your guys' company, who we're actually working with, and love your guys' work, and just your track record is unbelievable. But, you know, you've obviously had experience hiring sales professionals and seeing what works, what didn't, hiring, firing. So for entrepreneurs listening who are maybe trying to hire their own sales team or trying to evaluate how to hire, that could be a very complex thing. So, you know, on the one hand, I know you guys offer to partner with high-level entrepreneurs, but on the other side of somebody hiring a sales professional, what are your thoughts on A, how to find good salespeople, B, when is the right time to, you know, hire and fire them and train them? Because I'm sure you've seen a lot of the things not to do and have things you recommend to do. So could you paint a little picture on that, on how to hire and fire quality sales professionals in your business?
It's a tricky business with just salespeople in general, because, you know, especially we've talked about sales and feelings, right? And so a good salesperson is going to have feelings, and generally they're probably a little bit higher emotion than most of your most of the rest of the people that you might run into, especially like your accountants or your lawyers or things like that. That a sales guy is going to have some pretty high emotions, and so it can be something that can be hard to do. A couple of things I would recommend. If you haven't read the book by Chet Holmes, The Ultimate Sales Machine.
We actually have it here, yeah.
Read it.
Love Chet Holmes.
Read it. His daughter, Amanda, is one of my great friends.
She runs it now.
Yeah, she runs it, and she's incredible. She actually added another chapter to the most recent version. I would read through that because there's some fantastic things in there that literally that I've just pulled from Chet Holmes. And utilize. And once I started utilizing those strategies in my hiring process, that some incredible things happen. One of the first things that we did is, and it's a great marketing principle, Omar, is that the key to marketing is I want to attract the right people, but at the same time I want to repel the wrong people. Okay, and so many people think that. I've got a business and I want everybody to come into my business. And if I'm trying to market to everybody, I'm marketing to no one.
Right.
And it's the same thing when I'm looking at a job application. And so one of the things that we would do is we would say, in our ads that we'd put out and things like that, and wherever you're posting them, that, hey, listen, we're looking for highly qualified salespeople. Our top producers make $150,000 to $250,000 a year. On the low end, they're making $75,000 to $100,000 a year. If you're not a rock star, don't call us, but be prepared to tell us why when we get on the phone. And so that automatically, I find somebody in there that is like, hey, I know and believe who I am. I know and believe I'm a sales professional, and they've got some confidence. They've got to believe in themselves. They've got to know and understand that they. I mean, the last thing in the world you want is an unconfident salesperson. If they're unconfident in themselves or the product or whatever it is, like that just doesn't work. And then a few things that happen that I'm looking for some really key characteristics when I'm hiring a salesperson. Number one, I always do personality tests, and personality tests aren't the end all be all. And so, but they're usually not too far off either. They're not perfect. I'm not going to say it's the gospel, but I'm usually looking for somebody with a DI personality, on a disc test, and that helps out a lot just to make sure. And sometimes too, you can get somebody who is driven, but they've got a C type personality, and those guys are the guys that are just like dogged, follow up, because it's in the system and it works. And so you can make it work, but generally speaking, I'm looking for somebody with highly driven and they love people. They want to be around them. They want to help them. They just love people in general. Okay. And then in my, my interview, some of the things that are really, really critical to me in hiring a salesperson is I want to make sure my salesperson that they're curious, and that not just curious about sales, but, I want to be curious about lots of different things.
Because it shows they care. Right?
It does.
Yeah.
Yeah. If somebody's curious about, and so some of the things that I'll do is, hey, what was the last book you read? And most of the time they'll tell me like a sales book or a business book or something because they want to impress me, which is fine. Okay. Yeah. But then hey, what was the last classic novel that you read? What was the last, thing on astronomy that you read or something of that nature? What's the most recent hobby that you had? Okay. I'm always looking for people that are curious. It is a, absolute make or break. If I get on with somebody and they're like, they've obviously been graduated from college for 20 years and they haven't read a book in 20 years. And I don't even care if it's on Audible, but, if you're not picking up a book and you're not reading, you're not studying, I mean, every single day of my life, I read, I study and all sorts of different topics. But I'm always trying to hone in my skill and my craft. Something else that's kind of, people think this is a really funny one, but it's such a good indicator is, prior success. And not just recent prior success, but prior success early on in life.
So not just sales related.
No. It's, and everybody looks at me like whenever I ask a question, like, hey, tell me about some of your successes that you had in high school or college. Yeah. And they're looking at me like Napoleon Dynamite, Uncle Rico, I can throw the ball over the mountain, right? Like that's not the, that's not the idea behind it, but somebody who, and it doesn't matter what it is. Okay. I don't care if you were, on the football team and successful, in drama club, chess club, volleyball, it doesn't matter. But I want to know somebody who worked hard at something and achieved something. I was first team All-State in football. Okay. My senior year of high school.
What position did you play?
Defensive tackle.
Nice.
Yeah. Loved it. Okay. Lots and lots of fun. Amazing. But I understood and I knew how to work with the team. I knew what hard work was. I knew that I didn't like losing. Okay. And those things that get instilled in us at a very early age, like that's not something I can teach. That's not something I can teach somebody that's 40 years old. Right. And so if somebody, hey, I don't care if they were in theater. Tell me how you got the lead in the play or the part that you wanted in the play. Like, what did you do? What did you have to go after it? And people having a goal, something that they desire, going after it and achieving it. You can't reteach that later on in life the way if it's not ingrained in you early on in life. Yeah.
So it shows the dimensions of character, of seeking, getting, struggling through adversity, and then getting to the other side of it. Yeah.
Absolutely. And so the last thing though that, this is straight from Chet Holmes. But the last thing I always do when I'm looking to hire a sales guy, is, on the sales call, I reject them.
Wow.
Yeah. Omar, I'm going to tell you, this is like the hardest thing in the world for me to do.
Yes.
Because I love people. I'm like, I don't want to be mean to them.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I'm selling myself on this, but I rationalize it with like,
Yeah.
It'd be a lot meaner for me to hire them and set them up for failure.
Sure.
Than to let them know right then. And I'm usually really, really gentle about it, but it'll be something like, gosh, Omar, it's been a great conversation and I appreciate the call, but I'm just not hearing Rockstar here, dude.
Mm-hmm.
And I shut up and I listen to their response. Okay. Because these people have just spent the last 20, 30 minutes selling me on why they're such a good salesperson,
right?
Why they're curious, the prior success, why they're driven, all these things.
So even if you like them, you'll do it just to test and gauge how they respond, right?
Absolutely. Because Omar, like I said, they've just bragged to me for 20, 30 minutes on how awesome they are and how good they are they're at being a salesperson. And I give them one rejection. Okay. About themselves. And if they can't come back and they can't say, listen, are you not hearing me? Mm-hmm. Did you not hear what I said here? You must not have been paying attention because obviously I'm one of the best salespeople. It's crazy how many times people will go, oh, okay. Well, thank you for your time. Mm. And if they're doing that to me about themselves, what are they going to do with my leads?
Customer. That's right.
And are you just going to give up that quick? Are you going to go after it? You're going to get it done. And so it's something that it's so hard for me to do. It's probably one of the least favorite things I hate doing in the hiring process, but it's also probably one of the best indicators of, right. It's funny. It's almost okay for somebody to get mad at me. and I've had people that got mad at me and then it was like, hey, listen, let me tell you what I was doing. I loved everything you're doing. I want to see how you handle rejection in the heat of the moment. Right. And they're like, oh, okay. I get it now. But somebody who was willing to say, fight for myself. And I remember the first time that happened to me. I looked at the guy and said, so you're not interested in hiring me? Apparently you guys don't like money. And the guy just like cracked up and laughed, and I had no idea what he was doing. Mm-hmm. And then he kind of explained it to me, and I think I was 22 years old the first time that happened, and they'd taken it from Chet Holmes, but by doing that, it really helps me to sift through who the sales superstars are. And Omar, I'm going to tell you too, the hardest thing in the world to do is it does take time and energy, and you're sitting there and you're like, man, I need salespeople. Yes, it does take time to hire them, but when they do get hired and you find the right one, you're ecstatic, you're happy about it. And
you get all that time back.
You get so much more time back than hiring a crummy salesperson, because now for the next 2 or 3 years, every bit of your life is going to be spent worrying about them, helping them, overcoming this, doing that. And so you spend more time on the front end, but once they're hired, it's virtually very, very little time on the back end.
It's funny you say that. So there's 2 quick stories I'll share with you just to edify that point. Is the last job I had was working for Tesla. And when I worked at Tesla, there's all these rounds of interviews. And the same thing, they ask you about your strengths, your weaknesses, all that. And then the final interview before I got the job, I sat down. It took like weeks, and like you're scheduling out. So there's all this anticipation, anxiety, and it's Tesla. It's a big deal. And finally, I get to the last round, and it's with one of the head managers in California. And we sit down, and she goes, okay, Omar, thanks so much for your time. So we only have 3 questions for you. So the first, before I start the 3 questions, I wanted to ask, what order would you like those questions in? And your brain is just like, I was like, in order is fine. Because subconsciously, the first thing I thought was on the whim is like, oh, they're trying to see if I prefer chaos or if I can follow order. So that was kind of easy. So I was like, 1, 2, 3 is fine, any order. So she's like, okay, and she just did something on her thing. I didn't see what she did. And then the first question was, how many degrees are in an isosceles triangle? Right? And my brain is like, because I'm going in there thinking, okay, my sales acumen, what I love about Tesla, I'm studying the cars, I'm doing all the stuff about Elon, when did he start the company, what are the new models, like I'm prepping in that direction. And she goes, how many degrees are in an isosceles triangle? So my brain was freaking out, and I was like, shit.
High school geometry.
Yeah, exactly. So thankfully, by the grace of God, I said 180, like with confidence. Turns out later that all triangles, no matter acute or all this, are 180 degrees because the angles balance out. So I was like, thank God I got that. I didn't know that. Second question, she said something to the effect of, I forgot what it was. It was like something to the effect of like, if a customer had an issue and you didn't know how to solve it in the store and you couldn't have access to any of us, what would you do?
Good question.
Right? And so your brain is like scrambling, right? So then I was just like, well, first and foremost, I would refer to any kind of training we have. Then secondly, I would tell the customer that we'll get back to them as soon as we can, and I would find the right person. But they're trying to throw you off. And so I ended up getting hired. And then later I asked her, and if you mind me asking, what was the rationale? And she said, all we want to do is see how you handle pressure. Because customers that come in and they're buying these cars, they're going to ask you stuff you don't know. They're going to throw you off. So are you composed? Are you fidgety? Are you looking around? Are you deflecting? Are you confronting it head on? And so I found out that those are the things that they end up hiring people for, not how well do you know the Model X, right? And so that's one story. The second one is I actually applied to work for Tony Robbins. Tony Robbins changed my life many years ago. It's why I started the show. It's my dream to get him. And I actually ran into him in a restaurant in December, and God willing, he's coming on the show later this year. So that's huge.
Awesome job.
But Tony, I applied to be a sales rep for their company. And I would call, I would email, and then I got an interview. And I do the interview, and then I don't hear anything. So then I follow up, and I call, and I email, and nothing. No response, no nothing. And then I'm calling, leaving voicemails, all this stuff. And I find out later, one of my buddies works at the Tony Robbins company, so I asked him, I said, hey, bro, I won't say who for the sake of privacy, but I'm like, hey, bro, I applied for Tony Robbins. They liked me, and they said it was good, and that we'd be in touch. I haven't heard anything now. It's been like 2-3 weeks. I'm so excited to potential work for Tony and help the mission. I probably sold more Tony Robbins stuff and never got a commission than anybody I know, right? You got to get his books. You got to go to seminars. So I'm sitting there, like, just thinking about what to do. And he goes, I'll tell you an inside secret. He goes, the Tony Robbins company, unless you reach out 12 points of contact, that you won't hear back from them. Because the psychology is, if that's how, like, nobody's going to sell a product or service better than they'll sell themselves. So if you're not going to follow up 10 or 12 times and do it respectfully, not pissed off, not saying, hey, I really don't appreciate, right? All right, so I called, I emailed, I left voicemails for the manager, very respectful follow-up. Finally, they got back to me, and then it ended up, I ended up getting into a position where I was going to work for them, and then later would end up starting the show, so I didn't. But I found out through that process that came also from Chet Holmes.
Yep.
And it's the psychology of you don't want to just hire a salesperson because they had a good call. You actually want to see them in action because they'll never sell anything better than they sell themselves. So long story, but I thought it was
no, but you're right on. If they've just spent all this time telling me how good they are,
right,
and how awesome they are and what a great salesperson they are.
Show me, yeah.
And I give them one little rejection about themselves,
mm-hmm.
and they can't stay calm, composed, and be able to answer that and work through it. Like they should be more confident about themselves than anything else on the planet. They don't know anything about my leads, my products, anything like that. That if they can't handle that, they're never going to be able to handle my leads. Mm-hmm. And so it's such a great thing to be able to grab them on, that put them under some pressure and just see, hey, this is where we're at. And I want to see how you perform in the heat of the moment, because Omar, I have people who ask me questions all the time that I don't have any clue about, just different clients. And because
right.
we do sales for different clients. And so it's being able to, hey, gosh, do you think Omar knows how to start a podcast? We're going to cover all those things. How do you think Omar will help you? And if it's something that somebody really needs to know, that I don't have any problem with saying, you know what? I don't know right now. Let me get you the information and let me get it back to you. Mm-hmm. Because I want to get them answered and I want to help them out and serve them the highest level. Mm-hmm. And so, but if you have somebody who's, like you said, fidgety, who's not able to look them in the eye and not able to talk to them and not able to communicate, that I don't want those people. Those people won't ever touch leads that I work with or control.
100%. What about your greatest sales day ever? I'm sure you have personal records where you closed X amount a day. Anything that sticks out? Either in a short period of time or a week or a day or an event or something like that?
Man, there's been so many just awesome, amazing things that have come together, and I'm just trying to think of
Yeah, out of 100 million, I'm sure it's hard to.
there's a lot of them. I know for sure. Probably just over a course of a year that I mean, one of my best years, I did almost $20 million in sales personally, not my teams, not anybody else, just what I had done. But it's really the thing that I love the most, Omar, is it's really the ability to help and change somebody's life. And so when I look at it, it's the differences that I've been able to help make in people's lives. And I think of one person, her name's Sarah Petty. And Sarah Petty, she's a New York Times #1 bestseller photographer. She's amazing, awesome, just a sweet lady. And they tried to do a high ticket program, and she was selling it. And they did a challenge, ran the challenge, did the high ticket program, and didn't sell anything at all.
Wow.
Okay. Bummed out. She's like, high ticket sales doesn't work for my people because they're all just these little old photographer ladies that just want to do it. And I said, hey, let me help you out, and let me just give you some tips, and let me give you some scripting, and let me work with you. So she said, okay, we'll do one more challenge. We'll try and sell high ticket products. She did it, and sold $76,000.
Wow.
Just by making those changes.
Wow.
Okay. So all of a sudden it was, oh my gosh, there's such a difference. And then Sarah looked at me and said, Kate, Robbie, I don't want to be the one that's on the phone all the time. And I would tell every entrepreneur on the planet, one of the first things, along with doubling or raising your prices, is the entrepreneur needs to remove himself from the actual sales process as quickly as possible. And I'll talk about that a little bit, but she was like, Robbie, I know I need to remove myself from the sales process. Can you help me hire a couple of people? And she went out and she got, I walked her through my process and what you need to do, and told her everything that needed to happen. And at the end of it, she found these 3 ladies that she wanted to do sales, and I did the final interview where I got to reject them. I was like, thanks, Sarah, for making me do what I hate doing. But I just helped her out, and I did the interview, and it was so interesting that right away we knew exactly. One of the ladies was like, okay, goodbye. And I was like, all right. And the next one was like confused and didn't understand. She's like, I really thought I did a good job. And the third one was like, have you not been paying attention to what I've been telling you? I'm amazing. I've done this and this and this and this. And so it was really, really interesting. But so they did the next challenge, and did like over $275,000.
Wow.
So went from zero with not doing any high ticket sales to 75,000 with Sarah doing them, and then to over $275,000 in sales. And the thing for me is it's the ability that I have to help people out, more than anything, because it's if you're looking at your next sale as your car payment or your mortgage or whatever, and we all have to have those things, like it's, but you're going to miss out on the ability to actually help somebody out. If you look at it as, I've got something amazing that I can help change somebody's life. I mean, you talk about Tony Robbins, and Tony Robbins changed your life, and you're like, I want to get out there and I want to sell it. Okay. I want to help more people know about it. If Tony, if I had the commissions that I've sent over to the affiliate commissions from Tony, I'd have so much money, right? Because you're just sending everybody over there, right?
Right.
And you're doing that because you're passionate and you love it, and because you know that it has the ability to change people's lives.
Right.
And if you look at every sales call as, I have the ability to help somebody to change their life, and you look at them as an individual, not not an object, not a commission check or the payment on something, your next family vacation, but
right.
You know what? And those are all good things. They're all necessary. You'll always struggle at sales because you're making it about you and not the person on the other end of the phone.
Hey guys, quick question. Have you been enjoying this video, but you're thinking to yourself, man, I love this content, but I want to learn how to grow my brand or my business? Well, if your answer is yes, you're not alone. In fact, millions of entrepreneurs deal with this exact same issue. And it's something that I've learned the answer to from interviewing 7, 8, and 9-figure entrepreneurs around the world. And this philosophy that solves all that is a concept called who, not how. Now, the who, not how philosophy states that anytime you're stuck on the hows to get to the next level in your life, your brand, or your business, that there's always a who to help you get there. And it's for this exact reason that I'm super excited to announce that I've officially launched our brand new Passionate Few community to help you do exactly that. And yes, it's 100% free. Join me and the thousands of other entrepreneurs that can help you make your life, your business, and your dreams a reality. With no further ado, let's get back to the video. Why is it so important for entrepreneurs to remove themselves from selling directly?
Omar, the reason behind it, and so you always need to prove out your product, your process, whatever it is.
Right. So you want to sell it at first, but then as you learn it, remove yourself so you can focus on the bigger vision of the business.
As quickly as possible. And the reason behind this is it gives you the ability to focus on more things. But the other problem is most entrepreneurs are so in love with their product that they teach way past the sale. And so they're giving out
overkill.
Yeah. They're giving out all this information and they talk because they're so excited because it's their baby. They love it. Okay. And they talk. And all of a sudden at the end of it, the customer is like, okay, I got all the information for me to go out and do this on my own. Or they've said so much and talked so much technobabble that at the end of the sales call, the customer is confused, and a confused mind always says no. Yeah. And so it's something that like you've got to make sure that initially in the beginning that you're the guy that does sell, the first 5 or 10 products, whatever it is. Okay. You got to prove your offer out. You got to make sure that it works, but as quickly as you possibly can, you want to remove yourself from the sales process. And the beautiful thing about a salesperson is, it doesn't cost your business anything. Okay. It's interesting too, because sometimes people say, gosh, Robbie, I don't want to add an extra 20% from my bottom line. And I look at them and say, well, just raise your prices by 20%. Right there, because really at the end of the day, like a $5,000 program to a $7,000 program or an $8,000 program, there is no monetary, there's no psychological difference. Anybody who's going to say yes at 5,000 is going to say yes at 8,000. Okay. So build that into your system and say, hey, like you grandfather the first 5 or 10 sales that you do that you're doing in at a $5,000 price, hire a salesperson and raise your prices to $7,000 or $8,000 right like that. And it makes it so simple and so easy. And so you're still making the same amount of money. It doesn't hurt the profits of the business, and you're able to remove that sales hat. In fact, that's the name of our company, the sales lever, because we allow entrepreneurs to get the leverage in their business to free themselves up, take off that sales hat, and actually focus on other things that they're probably better at. One of the hardest things for most entrepreneurs to do is to take something. So many people that are entrepreneurs are good at sales,
right?
But they're not great at it,
right?
And so taking something that you're good at and saying, I'm going to take that hat off that I'm good at, and I'm going to focus on the things that I'm great at, and let somebody who's great at sales focus on what they're great at. That's when superpowers happen, and people can focus on the things that they're the best at.
Where have you seen like businesses explode? Because I'm sure you've seen it where people are maybe struggling at a certain point in their business. They bring in a sales team, and then it gives them all this bandwidth. What can you say or speak to about entrepreneurs that you've seen do that? Like, are there people you've seen where their bottleneck is there because of their bandwidth? The second they get sales handled, boom, now all of a sudden they have all this bandwidth to focus on all these other angles to grow the business that they never thought of because they're so in the business they can't work on the business, right?
They're so far in the weeds that by hiring that salesperson, it totally and completely frees them up. In fact, probably the biggest complaint that every entrepreneur that I know, it's either leads or sales. Like that's what it is. And so if you don't have the leads coming in, if you don't have, prospects coming in, or however you're driving them in, that's always something that you got to fix, you got to perfect, you always got to be working on. But all of a sudden, once that salesperson is hired, that it literally relieves all that pressure from the entrepreneur to be the only one that's out there making money. In the beginning, like the entire business, it's always dependent upon the entrepreneur being the guy going out there doing the sales. And it's like, I got to make payroll. I got to pay for rent. I got to do this. I got to pay for the Wi-Fi.
Credit cards, ads, whatever.
Yeah. I got to do all of it. And I'm the only one that's actually bringing in revenue. And so now all of a sudden, if I've got somebody else that actually brings in revenue, and it's at I wouldn't even say it's at because you don't pay a sales guy unless they make money. You pay him on commission, right?
Yeah.
And so, but not only does it free that entrepreneur up from the sales, it allows them to be able to go out there and focus on the things that, hey, they were good at sales, but they weren't great. And so I get somebody who's great at sales. Now I can go out and I can focus on, hey, I'm a great marketer. I'm great at writing copy or whatever it is. I'm great at product design. That now all of this, I'm great at building systems in the business, but I couldn't build the systems because I had to make payroll next week.
Right.
And so I had to go out and I had to make another sale. And so what it does, and the businesses who do that and they find the salesperson that they can work with, it literally makes their business explode. Russell Brunson's Inner Circle, it shut down. He shut it down for a little while, and they talked to me about opening it back up and bringing everybody in. And in the past, Russell had been doing a lot of the sales for it and how it worked in bringing people. And now all of a sudden, Russell has 100 people in his Inner Circle at $50,000 a piece and 10 people in his $150,000 program. And he didn't have to talk to any of them. And all of a sudden he's got this business that's, $8 to $10 million just right off the bat, literally in, it was a couple of months, but he built that without him ever having to talk to a single person. And he could focus on what are the best ways that I can help out my Inner Circle? How can I serve them? How can I fulfill? Right. And now all these people are ecstatic and excited because Russell's not trying to fill up his Inner Circle. He's focused on fulfilling and helping them and what can they do for the next event, or how can we do it? And it makes it, and Omar, you nailed it. It gives them the ability to stop working in the business and actually work on the business. Mm-hmm. And it's amazing how much we miss when we're in the weeds. That's why I think you should always have a coach or a consultant on your business. Mm-hmm.
Because when you're so in the weeds, you miss picking the fruit.
100%. And I remember I was working with Steve Larson, who's now my business partner.
Love Steve and Marley. Yeah,
aren't they fantastic?
They got the wedding.
I know. Are you coming?
Yes.
Awesome. Hey, we're gonna hang out in Boise. I love it, Omar. Okay. But Steve was filling up a conference in 2019.
I was there.
Were you at that one?
The Offer Lab.
Yeah.
It was at the downtown center, and the rear end had scooters. I was there actually. Yeah.
Okay. So him and his business partner came over to my office because they were like, Robbie, we just need some help because we got to fill this up. And I said, okay, kind of break down like at a high level everything that you guys are doing. And he said this and this, and we got leads and people coming from here, and we got this list here and with this list here. And I said, well, have you reached out to that list there? Mm-hmm. And he looks at his business partner like almost a little bit sheepish, right? And he's like, no. Okay, this is a $700 ticket to go to Offer Lab, right? And I'm like, why haven't you emailed them? And they look at each other and like, we don't know. So I'm like, why don't you do an email campaign for them? And literally it was immediate. Okay, they got 60 more sales for their Offer Lab. I mean, that's like $42,000 that comes in, covers the cost of the event, the event space and everything. And just by, and it wasn't that I'm like this business genius. It was, they were so far in the weeds with what they were doing that they couldn't see that low hanging fruit. And so always making sure that you've got somebody that is willing to like do an audit, look at things, see what you can do, see how they can help you, because you'll miss out on so many things because you are so in the weeds.
100%. Yeah. And it's funny because nobody escapes that. Whether you're just starting in business, you're at the $1 million, $10 million, $100 million level, you always need that sales lever, so to speak. No pun intended.
Well, no, but it's interesting that, okay. So
even sorry to interject, even Hermosi mentions that. I saw an interview with him where they asked him, like, what was the biggest breakthrough in your business? He goes, well, there was always limiting beliefs I had to expand, but he goes, probably the most profitable one was the day when money came into the business account that I didn't have to hunt to kill for, because then all of a sudden my mind was like, whoa, I can have branches of the tree that generate revenue and it's not all on me, And he said the second that happened, it opened up a whole new world of his business. But I just wanted to edify that point as well. Yeah,
you're right on. And it's the most successful business owners, I don't care who they are, they've always got a coach or a consultant, somebody who's looking at things from an outside perspective. And sometimes it's the board that they have people on their board that are advisory members to look at things from an outside perspective to be able to help them out. Mm-hmm. And if you're not constantly doing that, your business is dying. If you're not looking out, if you're not reaching out, your business is dying. You've always got to be doing that. And removing yourself from the sales process as quickly as you can is the smartest thing that you can do, and it'll relieve more stress. It'll pull more pressure off of you than anything else, free up more of your time to allow you to actually focus on your genius.
I love it. Yeah. Evolve. Yeah.
Exactly.
Evolve, not dissolve.
Exactly.
Bedros Keuilian, actually, he taught me that years ago. We had a coaching session and he told me, Omar, sit down, write me everything in your business. And he goes, what are your core four? Like, what are your 4 superpowers? And then delegate the rest. And you'll find that very often when you get into a winning situation, when your team members are doing their strengths, you focus on theirs. And now it's a team winning because you're competing against teams.
Yep.
So your business, your industry, no matter how good you are, no matter how well you know your product and service, even if you're making $1 million a year, whatever it is, you're competing with teams. And so the sooner you get better as a business owner at building the team, now you can, for lack of a better expression, play the choir instead of playing the instrument, right? Instead of playing guitar or drums, you can sort of conduct the group and have more leverage and impact and obviously grow the business like that. So I think that's super true. I wanted to ask about tonality. So we posted to the community, and I asked the community, "Hey, I'm interviewing one of the top sales reps in the industry, sales professionals in the industry, and we can ask any questions." So a lot of them asked things like, how about tonality? How about prepping before calls? How about setting quotas with yourself, targets on the daily? Is there anything you do in terms of preparation that you'd recommend other sales professionals do on a daily basis, just to either prep for calls or mind frames for how to go about calls, get ready for the day, working out before? Any nuances like that have helped you in the day-to-day sales process that you can share with others?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm right now I'm reading like 6 different books. It's my ADD that kicks in. But,
Same.
But I've always got, and I'm always, every single day I'm reading, I'm learning something to better craft, better hone my profession, whether it's on leadership, whether it's on sales, whether it's on running a business. I'm always doing something to learn and to grow, and
sharpening the sword. Yeah,
always. Gosh, you can have a really, really sharp sword and you can swing it and swing it and swing it. And eventually over time, if you don't sharpen it back up and you don't polish it, it's going to go dull.
Right.
And I don't care how good you were at one point. If you don't sharpen your sword, you're going to be in a world of hurt. So that's the first thing, is never, ever, ever stop learning. I always do some form of workout, and I'm not I'm not crazy about what I do, but it's something aerobic, and it might even be as simple as walking my dogs or running with my dogs, and then push-ups and sit-ups. Mm-hmm. I don't go to the gym. I don't take the time for that, but I'm always, every single day, doing things to get the blood flowing, get it pumping, and doing that. As far as preparation for calls, what's interesting, Omar, is that if you believe in what you're selling, that the very first thing I do on almost every single sales call, and it starts out like this, that I'll be like, "Hey, Omar, I know you talked to my assistant Tyler yesterday, and he told me some good things about you and excited, but we take just a couple of minutes and tell me a little bit about your business and where you're at." And even because I've already got all the information, we've got an application that's filled out and it's gone through it, and I've got all of Tyler's notes that he's taken in there and put in there. But what I want to do is I want to get them talking about it again, because I like whatever notes they said, whatever they wrote down, I'm going to hear something different. I'm going to hear a different tone of voice. I'm going to hear a different perspective. I'm going to
feel them. Yeah.
See, Omar, back to the feel again. Mm-hmm. And I've got to make them feel something. I got to see, I got to understand. And it doesn't matter if they're life insurance agents or they're trying to financially plan or whatever it is. That tell me about your finances right now. Where are you at? And I want to hear about it. And I want to know what they're doing, or their business or wherever it's at. And so every single call, and some people take lots and lots of time to review and look over everything and what everything is and where it's at. And in my experience, Omar, that most of the salespeople that spend a whole lot of time reviewing all the notes and everything, and that does, like, we keep very detailed notes, and they're there because they're important in your CRM, and you want to look over them and to refresh your memory on things. But the people who take so much time to prepare don't usually take a lot of action. and it slows them down.
Like
and
2-hour morning routines where they psych themselves out on the prep before the actual game day, so to speak.
Yeah. And it's like, okay, I'm going to prep. I'm going to look at all the leads today. And then I'm going to get on the phone. I'm going to do my calls and they're prepping. And, oh gosh, Sally's over by the water cooler. And let me go talk to her about her weekend. And then you come back and you're like, oh, I got to get back into it again. And pretty soon it's lunch and you haven't called anybody.
Versus having the skill on tap.
Yeah. It's something. And that's not to say that there's something that like, there's not something to be said about a little bit of preparation, but very, very quickly. Every morning I wake up and I look at the calls that I have and who I'm talking to every single day. And I set an alarm on my iPhone for 5 minutes before. Okay. And it just alerts me, lets me know that there's something coming up, something that I got to do. And then I jump into the CRM and I quickly read over the lead. But the reason behind that too, though, Omar, is because I've taken the time to prepare every single day of my life. I've sharpened my sword every single day of my life. That it doesn't really matter what the situation is. It doesn't matter what the question is, right. that I have the ability to work through it and to answer it, and help people out. As far as tonality, the thing that, and a lot of people don't, they don't understand what posture on a sales call is.
Sure.
And posture on a sales call, especially when it's a high ticket sales call, they miss out on what posture is. And what posture is, it's the ability to help the prospect see and understand and realize that they need us more than we need them. Okay. There's a reason that we're talking to them. There's a reason that they need the help. And if
almost like a doctor prescribing based on the issue or symptoms, so to speak.
Absolutely. Hey, Omar, if somebody doesn't sign up for Russell's Inner Circle, Russell's kids will still eat just fine tomorrow. Right. You know what I mean? So it's and it's not being arrogant or cocky about it, but it's understanding that I have control of the conversation and that, we're in charge, and that they really, it's a mindset they got to qualify through us, right. To be able to be a part of a podcast or a program. I remember we were listening to, I was reviewing a sales call with my team just this last week, and the guy in the sales call was a total complete jerk. Okay. Right from the get go. And, I had a new setter that we were reviewing the call and going through it with him. And, he just let the guy just run over him. Okay. And the guy had been doing insurance for years. And I was like, gosh, my first question would have been, Omar, you've been doing insurance for so many years. Like, wait, why do you need help from somebody like Doug Andrews, who's written hundreds of millions of dollars of policies and written 13 books? If you already know it, why are we here? Because if they don't come to me and they don't say, I need you more than we need you.
Right up front.
Right up front, especially when you get that attitude, that arrogance, like another sales call. We don't have to do this. Like you're here for a reason, because you need help, and I have something that you feel that can help us. Let's explore it, and let's be civil about it, and not ever in an arrogant or mean way, but it's always, hey, listen, I'm in control of the sales conversation, and I have a system. And the guy just kept fighting, and I said to him, this guy can't handle our process in a 15-minute set call. How on earth is he going to go through a year-long program being anything other than just like the biggest pain in the neck to fulfillment? Like, fulfillment's going to kick him out.
Right.
Okay. And so if you can follow a process in a 30-minute sales call that we have over a couple of calls, you're not a fit in the program, because I'm going to bring you in program, and my clients are going to be like, you're bringing people that just suck into our program. I don't want that. And so part of the sales process, again, and it's the marketing to attract the right people and repel the wrong people.
I love that.
Yeah.
I love that, man. Very powerful. Well, Robbie, this has been awesome. I have one more question before we wrap up.
Oh, man.
And play a quick game. It's called First Things First. So
okay.
The way the game works is a quick word or phrase relation game. So the way it works is I'm going to rifle off a quick word or phrase, and then you just tell me the first word or phrase that comes to mind.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
I like it. You're going to see how I handle under pressure. Like,
that's right.
I like this. I like it.
The only rule is that you can't repeat yourself twice.
Okay. Got it.
Make sense?
Got it.
So the first word or phrase that comes to mind. All right, first one. You ready?
Yep.
Best sales advice you've ever gotten.
Serve.
Worst sales advice you've ever gotten.
Talk more.
Biggest limiting belief you've had to overcome to get to where you're at today.
That the biggest limiting belief would be just in my head that what I have and what I'm doing, that it's actually worth it, and having that belief in myself.
Like overcoming the imposter syndrome.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And just on the imposter syndrome, that it's that's a scary thing. Like I want to downplay that for most people, that it's even for somebody who's had a lot of rejection and a lot of success. But understanding and realizing, I mean, and not to get like religious or philosophical, but man,
it's okay.
I believe we're all created in God's image, right? And so if that's the case, I'm a child of God. I have the ability to do anything, and so does everybody else out there. And so just really knowing and understanding and believing that gets you through that imposter syndrome pretty quickly.
The first time a commission check blew your mind and changed your life.
$125,000, one commission check, changed my mind, it was amazing. It was awesome. And it was a game changer. The first 6-figure commission check I ever got. Yeah.
Biggest lesson you learned knocking doors back in the day.
Don't give up.
What it takes to disarm a triggered prospect when you're on a sales transaction call.
Smile and ask questions.
Best advice you'd give to a struggling sales professional right now who's on the fence about quitting or recommitting to get better.
Find somebody in the company that is very successful and either have them mentor you or follow exactly what they're doing.
The underlying question most prospects ask themselves before they either decide to buy or not buy.
Do I see the value? Because Omar, it's never about price. It's about the value proposition. If I've given them enough value, the price doesn't matter. It's back to that, Omar, if you feel you can make $100,000 with the music job with Kristen Morel, and instead of it being $5,000, it's $10,000. So I put $100,000 on the table in front of you and you give me back 10. So it's all about the value. Build the value, and have them build it for you.
The right time to hire a sales rep and the right time to fire a sales rep.
Right time to hire. As quickly as you possibly can. Find the right one after you've proven your offer. The right time to fire is when you've set KPIs, you have expectations that are clearly laid out and they're not meeting them. Don't hold on to them. If they, and that doesn't mean like somebody doesn't have a bad week.
What time period? Yeah.
6 weeks maximum.
Gotcha.
If you're not meeting your KPIs for 6 weeks, it's that's probably a little generous because I really like people and I'm probably nicer than I need to be sometimes, but at least 6 weeks. Yeah.
I've heard a great expression that says the best time to fire someone is the first time you think about hiring them. And every time after that, you're going to be like, dang, I should have done it sooner.
Yep.
It's a hard lesson in entrepreneurship to learn sometimes.
And I would also say, just with firing salespeople, negativity.
Cultural fit. Yeah.
Kills. And you're gonna have something that was a cultural fit for a long time. And then they get jaded. I start getting negativity on a sales floor and it's like, it changes today or you're gone. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it because one rotten apple will mess up the whole box.
Yeah. One drop of poison ruins a gallon of water. Yeah. Absolutely. The future of high ticket sales, as you see industries change, AI come into play. Do you see a future of high ticket sales? How do you see it evolving, or do you think it'll always be there and people just have to evolve or adapt to it?
So here's the thing, and that's an interesting question because I think that probably in the next 10 years, 70 to 80% of all jobs are going to be replaced by robotics or AI. Maybe I'm wrong, but maybe it's 20 years. It's not going to be long. But this is what I see the beauty of high ticket sales and AI. I think that it's going to allow the best salespeople to rise to the top, and the ones that aren't the very, very best are going to be able to go out and find their zone of genius somewhere else and do something else. I think that regardless of what happens, even looking at like Russell with his webinars, and he's so good at doing webinars and selling on stage and doing those things. Russell rarely does a webinar that he sells something over $2,000.
Right.
And it's, that getting much over that $2,000 or $3,000 without having some form of human contact, some form of human interaction. I just see that going to be a hard barrier for most people to break through. And so I think that it's definitely going to, there's things that we do with very few people that 10, 20 years ago took us 60 guys to do the same thing.
Right.
And that's because of technology and things like that, and so it's combining that together. But I don't see the especially for a high touch, it's always going to be here.
Mm-hmm. And then second to last one before we wrap up is best advice you give to entrepreneurs on their roughest days. Entrepreneurship is a brutal game. Any words of wisdom on tough days for you that, kind of anchors for you to keep you in a positive mental frame?
So couple of things. And you guys, there's nothing wrong with taking a break for a minute. One of my favorite things to do, I've got a woodworking shop and a metal shop, and
yeah, we got your pens.
Yeah,
I
made pens for the guys here, and
yep.
But do something and get away for a minute. But give yourself, hey, listen, this sucks right now. I'm going to give myself 2 hours. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to go mentally unwind. Maybe it's like you go to the gym or you hit a heavy bag. For me, I've got a forge and a hammer and an anvil, and I hit metal, and shape it into knives and do things like that. But hey, I'm going to set a timer for 2 hours. Okay. And I'm going to be upset, and I'm going to get over it in 2 hours, and I'm going to get back to work and get after it again. And so take a break, take a breather, and maybe it's meditation, maybe it's reading a book, whatever it is. Omar, the guys that I see that are just like, I'm just going to power through, they burn out. And that doesn't serve or help anybody. So if they'll take just a minute and say, like, admit it sucked. Oh my gosh, we just lost an account. We just lost this. We didn't get the sale. My favorite person just left the company, whatever it is. Own it, admit it, realize that it sucks, take a break, and then come back as quick as you can with a plan of action to make it happen.
Mm-hmm. That's so true. And then the last one, you ready?
Yeah.
Is, when Robbie Summers is dead, gone, and nothing but a pile of dust, if there's any kind of gem of wisdom from life, business, otherwise, and you had to share 1 minute of wisdom to the world for somebody who, wants to live their dream or pursue their passion or pursue that business, but maybe they feel stuck. Maybe a younger version of you who was once stuck. You've seen it with entrepreneurs around the world. Before they break through, there's often these low moments that become deciding factors to either, unfortunately go down or rise up. So what would be your best, 60 seconds piece of wisdom to people out there looking to live their dreams, having experienced working and living your dream at the highest level with some elite entrepreneurs?
Omar, that's easy. And it would be to always look at people like they're people. And regardless of the situation that you're in, regardless of what's happening, if I can sit back and I can say, even if somebody's being mean or nasty or whatever's happening, that they're still a person, and I give them intrinsic value, it automatically builds my value. If I can look out and I can say when things are dark and things are hard, there's been times in my life when man, things just stink, and I'm looking on Facebook, like scrolling because I'm like, just doom scrolling or whatever, and something comes up in the middle of the winter where there's a lady that says my husband's a disabled veteran and we can't shovel the snow in our driveway. And I get out of my head for just a minute and remember that people are people and that everybody needs help. And if I can go out and I can serve, if I can find ways to help people out, amazing things are going to happen. At the end of the day, Omar, like on my tombstone, I want to, hey, Robbie was dad. I've got 3 beautiful children, and Robbie was a really good guy. There's other tons and tons of other accolades and successes and things, but at the end of the day, I want to be known as a good man who tried to serve and tried to do right in the world.
I love it, my man Robbie. Last question: where can people find you if they want to connect with you further, get in touch, or even work with you guys in business or follow you on social?
Awesome. Couple places. Go to thesaleslever.com. We've got some free resources there for you. RobbieSummers.com, ROBBIE, Summers, just like the season with an S.com. And then you can find me on Instagram at the Robbie Summers. Come follow me. come ask me questions, see how I can help you. I'd love to see what I can do to bless and change lives and get entrepreneurs' messages out there to the world.
Oh, man, Robbie, thank you so much for being on
yeah.
the show there, both. Absolutely. Guys, make sure to check out Robbie in the description down below. You can follow him there as well as get in touch with them at the Sales Lever. Until next time, live strong, live with passion, and go live those dreams, because if it's going to be, it's up to you. Make sure to smash that subscribe button, and we'll see you guys on the next inspiring episode. Peace.